Buenos dias. Bonjour. I had a chance to go to Lou Henry the other day to see one of our classes at a dual French class and English class that they have there, which was one of the first in the States. So I haven't been able to shake that off a little bit. So I want to tell you all welcome this morning. And what a beautiful morning it is. Mayor Brown and Supervisor Magnuson, we worked very hard to make sure you absolutely had good weather, at least from about 8 o'clock to about 9 or so this morning. But as I reflect over the last 622 days, and I'm not counting, I'll tell you, being the mayor for the city of Waterloo has been one of the greatest experiences I've ever had in my life. I've had an opportunity to meet incredible people. I've had an opportunity to visit probably all the schools within our city, and it's been an absolute joy and pleasure. But in addition to working and partnering with all of you, I have to say that I work with some of the best staff in the entire state of Iowa, and I would challenge them to folks around the country. So could the staff members from the city of Waterloo please stand? Please stand. And they're probably happy because every Thursday we have department head meetings and I don't supply breakfast. So they had an opportunity to come here as well. But over this past year and a half or 622 days, the work has been very well to try to help transform our community or the Valley and asking some questions. And one is the question asked that, you know, when something comes up or we want to do something, it's like, we can't do that. And so we've worked hard along with all of you to make sure that we become a city that can say that we can. And instead of asking the question like, why should we do that? You know, the mentality is shifting overall through this entire community to become that says, why not? We need to do that. And when we take a look at the strength and all of our economic indicators, and you take a look at the brochure that's placed directly in front of you, this is just a sign. I have to say, we are right now, when we take a look at economic indicators, and at the end of this month, we potentially will be 25 to 30% ahead of where we were at last year with regards to permitting and valuation and all those areas as well, which says that all of you have confidence in the Cedar Valley, in the city of Waterloo. And what's great, we have been able to realize and see progress being made in all sectors of our community. When we take a look across the river into an area that is an older historic area called Walnut, the Walnut Court area, we've been able to work with public-private partnerships to go in and rebuild and create a new vision for that entire part of our community. We've been able to take a look at the revitalization of the Chamberlain's area by trying to create a vision, grab more community input to reshape the lives that children and people have within that neighborhood that has been severely impacted. We've been able to take a look at several of our areas, our commercial zones like Martin Road, as you'll see in the brochure, and work with Cardinal for a 20,000 square foot building, also a new Quick Trip, and Amy Weenan's development at that area and the Love's Travel Stop as well. And if you've come downtown, you probably if you came from Cedar Falls, you probably went around the roundabouts and all the construction on University Avenue. Well, I'm happy to say once you enter downtown Waterloo, I'm hoping you had detours for construction here. You know, when people call and complain about the construction on our roads, it's actually music to my ears because it's a sign of progress. And sometimes progress causes a little uneasiness. So I'm glad to see all the construction taking place as well. But in downtown, next week, KWWL will have their grand opening of the work that they've done within their building. And as you can see, our 4th Street canopy is almost to the point we're about a month and a half away from the completion of our canopy project. We've also been working with Leslie Hospitality, as all of you probably have read about. We're working with Leslie Hospitality, and the convention center is going to have about $6 million worth of upgrades to it, new technology that will be throughout the convention center so the microphones don't die on you. We're also putting upgrades into the cooling system so that the cooling is just right when you walk into the building. And the Ramada is going to turn into a Hotel RL. And it's going to be fantastic and a great opportunity and a 4-diamond standard hotel directly right within our community. And I don't have to talk about TechWorks. I know it will probably be mentioned a little bit later with the TechWorks and the Marriott and the myriad of different things that are happening in that campus as well. We talk about the Northeast Industrial site and the continuation and expansion of different businesses and opportunity. And Logan Plaza, with the development of that particular area, with the medical facilities and a restaurant and great things happening. We've been working with local developers to talk about various housing starts and great opportunities. So when we take a look at the Cedar Valley, when we take a look at the corridor, we are strong and getting stronger. And Mayor Brown and I have come to the realization, which all of you probably known way before the government entities realized, that our success depends on our ability to work together. So we are partnering, and along with Supervisor Magnuson, to work with our Shared Services Committee. And yesterday, we had an excellent meeting with regards to our human resources and seeing how we can partner and pool resources together so that our staff can be incredible and have the training and everything they need. And we also, where's Ron at from Cedar Falls? Ron attended one of our council meetings as well, because we're taking a look at the regionalization of our wastewater facility. Now, will it work? I mean, we don't know, but we deserve to take a look to see what we can do stronger together for a greater corridor. We're in a competition with people from around the state and different communities, from Des Moines to Iowa City, but the Cedar Valley is a force to be reckoned with, no matter where you go. So I want to end with a quote that I've always used, because I'm past my time, but we're in Waterloo, so I'm taking my time. And it is my favorite quote by Henry Ford, and you've heard it before. Coming together is a beginning, staying together is progress, and working together is success. Thank you.
Not only is it in Waterloo, but you can't tell us campaign season, can you? Yeah, thank you. Mayor Brown from Cedar Falls.
Thank you, Steve. And thanks to the Chamber for putting this on. What a great event. As always, a great group of people to get together with in the morning and have some food and some coffee. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Gaines, City Administrator Cedar Falls is here, along with two council people that I had seen. Councilman Dara and Councilman Blanford is also sitting over there. I hope I didn't miss any other council folks that had come through the door. And I did want to point out very briefly, we do have a special guest. He had told me it's his first time at the Greater Cedar Valley Good Morning. In the last year and a half, he has been part of UNI athletic department as the athletic director. I just want to introduce briefly David Harris, who is here this morning joining us. And I do want to apologize first and foremost for those who drove in the parking lot and saw my mug on the billboard in the back of my truck. I'm sorry. It's that time of season, and actually I was really procrastinating putting it out there, and she doesn't have any formal part of my committee, but I sleep with her every night. My boss, my wife, said, get it on the truck and start driving it around. So I started that. And you know, I try to keep my stress levels low, especially in the morning, because sometimes, as all of us, as we progress through the day, things kind of get on our shoulders. And so I really just try to, you know, meditate and have my coffee and chill out. but and I'm usually a pretty good driver, but now I got to really be careful as I go through the streets of Cedar Falls. But let me add to that. I have a 15-year-old beautiful daughter. She's my youngest, Annie, and every morning, or the night before every morning, she goes to Pete Junior High. Dad, can I drive tomorrow morning? And she has to drive my truck. And so aside from her going 15 and a 35, and beside hitting every curb possible, cutting people off, the stress levels are way too high. I'm just going to cover some interesting topics. You may have been reading about it, but just some things the city is sort of working on. And really, a lot of it, you'll kind of get the same sort of flavor, and I've been asked this so far in the campaign trail, what's the biggest thing facing Cedar Falls in the next few years? And I let folks know, just as Mayor Hart was indicating, Cedar Falls has progressed so well over the last 5 to 10 years. We've done very well. We're just going and growing. And one thing that maybe has been lacking is our infrastructure. So we have roads that need to be fixed. We have things in place, and the city staff has done a wonderful job putting those things together. There's no blame. There's a lot of different moving parts there, but council is still discussing the Main Street design coming along. I think it's kind of blowing down to 4 lanes or 3 lanes, and those one thing roundabouts maybe and all that stuff. So they're chewing through that. We have the Green Hill extension, which is just moving from Green Hill going west, kind of circling back over, eventually close to the Dome. They're making very good progress there, but it kind of makes sense because they're not really interrupting anything. It's new construction. Highway 58 in Viking. That's going to be brutal, just letting you know now. We're targeting Blaines are. It's detour city, and it's going to be a long, long road to haul. But again, when it all gets done and gets finished, that Avenue of the Saints won't be so maddening. The Whitewater design, the council did some approval last council meeting to look at some further options along those lines. And then we also are we had the bid come back lower than expected to start building that doggone levee. I think since a year plus ago, I've been talking about that levee, what needed to get done, adding to an existing levee. We're not killing the field mice. We're saving $1 billion of assets downtown, and we were fortunate enough to have that finally get through the process. We still have fireworks we're talking about. So a little explosive conversations coming there. And then there's also, it's been in the news, I've been asked by a lot of people, there's still some discussion councils to have on mayor being part-time or full-time. And we're moving Monday night to discussing some duties by ordinance. I can't wait for that meeting. I'm looking for the good old days when we used to hear all the griping about roundabouts on University Avenue. That was easy. And speaking of which, phase 1 is done. If you've gone through that corridor, I got to tell you, during when I was campaigning last time and talked to people, it was probably 6 people positive, 4 people negative, maybe 3 negative and one may not know. I got to tell you, now that corridor is open, it's probably 9 to 1 positive. So I think that just opened some eyes, and kudos to council for really going through that piece of things the previous few years. Phase 2 is we kind of did some lane swapping, had great weather, so I think they're going to push as hard as they can to get that done, in part this year and in part next year. You've heard me talk about this the last 2 years, so I won't cover anything more than that. But I did want to kind of run through what we've got going on as well in Cedar Falls. As you recall, I think maybe last time at the Good Morning Cedar Valley or somewhere, last year's total for new valuation, new permit dollars was $113 million for the city. The year prior to that was $153 million. Staff tells me for a city our size, if we're doing $7 to $80 million a year, we're blowing the socks off of things. So we're really growing that way. Again, going back to the infrastructure. But here's just some of the listing in case you're keeping score. And again, I know I've mentioned some of this, but Ashley Furniture, $6.5 million under construction, 150,000 square foot building in the industrial park. De La Porte, $1.5 million. Just occupied. The Great Wall, the Chinese restaurant that burned down on the hill last year. You've probably seen that if you've been down through the hill. It's a nice building there in the corner, $1.2 million deal. Orchard Hill School and North Cedar School, the expansive the expansion for those buildings are underway. The new Aldrich Community Elementary School west of town, southwest of town, is really coming along. That's very exciting with the partnership we shared with the Cedar Falls schools and putting all that together. Hawkeye Corrugated Box, I think they're actually Buckeye Corrugated Box. I don't like that part, but they actually, new 171,000 square foot facility just got approved, $7 million, and they're going to start that in November. They're growing, they're hiring, so they're moving out to the industrial park. Standard Distribution, once again investing in the community, $2.3 million project. West First, the redevelopment on the old Iowa Sports Supply, $3.5 million. That's going to get started early next spring or even late this fall. State Street, River Place, number 3 is almost up and running. Downtown has just gone crazy, and I love it. It's perfect. Live, work, and play. A whole different sector, I believe, of our economy is coming. I'm talking to a few people now, but I'd love if I happen to get fortunate enough to be reelected to go out and really just push this deal we have. It's called 10 gig from CFU. They're testing that right now. You talk about a game changer for companies around the world, not necessarily to headquarter themselves here, but just like that company, Jam City. They brought some kids from the Silicon Valley because their downloads were taking 2 days. This kid from Cedar Falls said, hey, I live in a city that has its own utility fiber door to door. We'd like to move out to Cedar Falls and take a look. And so they moved the 2 guys out there, making great money. And now that download that took 2 days takes 2 hours. Money, time, security is key. That stuff's not floating out there for 2 days, it's 2 hours. Imagine 10 gig where that bandwidth is just expanding exponentially. I get fired up about that. That's my old world as far as business development. We have some other great things going on. I don't want to take up the time. I appreciate sharing the stage with Mayor Hart, Supervisor Magdman, and thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Wow. It's hard not to be not only optimistic but enthusiastic when you hear about all the things that are going on in our communities. And Frank Magsman is here to talk to us about the things that are happening at the Black Hawk County Board of Supervisors. Frank?
Thank you, Steve. I want to recognize Linda Leyland, the supervisor, is also here this morning with us. It's always fun to follow the rock stars. They're enthusiastic, and it's great, and I'm not up for election this year, so I don't have to drive around with anything on my vehicle. Give you some updates from the county. We're working on looking at our strategic plan. We have a 2028 plan. When I started that in office almost 11 years ago, we thought about how are we ever going to reach 2028, but it keeps getting closer and closer. So we're spending time to revisit that plan this year with all of our elected officials, department heads in the county to come up with a more effective way and better way to provide county government. Mayor Hart spoke about shared services. It's something that I've been pushing for ever since I've been in office, that we have an opportunity to look at common services that we provide as a county, as cities, as school districts. UNI is involved, Hawkeye Community College, Waterloo, Cedar Falls Schools, and UNI. So we have a lot to put on the table, and we find many common areas that we need to work together with. So it's a great opportunity to bring those talented individuals together and to find out how we can provide better services and to control our costs in the future. One of the other things that I've been working on for some time in the county is our Hartman Reserve Nature Center. This has been under reconstruction for the past couple of years. Been a lot of fundraising going on, and we're looking for that facility to open up this December and to become part of the educational system here within Black Hawk County, and an opportunity for families and kids to come together to learn about nature in this great new facility that will be opening. So we're looking forward to that. Our conservation department has been working hard. We have several campgrounds and facilities that we rent out in the county. They are taking they're creating a virtual tour of each of these facilities so that when you have interest for camping or for the Rotary Reserve, for booking those, you can go online to the Blackhawk County Conservation website, and you can take a virtual tour of all of our facilities, and it will give you the opportunity to make your decision on which facility you think will meet your needs the best. So the Conservation Department, Mike Henderson, our new director, is just doing an outstanding job there in promoting that. One of the things that we were working on is trying to get the Cedar Valley Nature Trail back up and running. The last flood in 2016 took out several places in that trail system, and we were all set to start working on that, and then we had hurricanes, floods, so the FEMA has redirected their priorities and have put all these things on hold. So we will continue to work towards trying to reopen that Cedar Valley Nature Trail, but it is a lot of dollars, and it's something that hasn't been budgeted for. One of the things that I think is a real opportunity here, we have a company that's interested in putting up a wind energy facility in southern Blackhawk County. We feel that there'll probably be over 30 of the wind generating mills that will be placed in southern Blackhawk County. I think they're getting close to taking out their applications. I think this will help all of our communities because we'll have an opportunity to have clean energy that companies that want to expand, but they want an opportunity to use clean energy. I think we'll have that resource in Blackhawk County in the future. Once they start the project, I think it'll come around pretty quickly. So I think that's a great opportunity here in Blackhawk County. The county radio system, and I know I've talked about this in the past, but the new public radio system, we started this project at least 3 years ago. We're getting down to doing the testing on the new radio system. We have all the towers up and running. We've had a couple weeks delay because one of the towers needed a lot of extra work done on it so that we could ensure that it's a safe site. But we're getting close to putting that online and to making the switch over to running on this new P25 system that it will be a state of an art. And again, as I mentioned, we are working with Lynn County, Johnson County in having the same radio system, and we have many other counties that are interested, so we're developing a pretty wide area of where we'll be able to provide public safety radio systems. So we looked at the cost of putting up a backup dispatch center here in Blackhawk County, and it was part of our project to start with. But we worked with Lynn County and Johnson County, and we felt the best way for all those communities is that we provide each other a backup radio system. So if our 911 center would go down because of a disaster, we could switch it over to either Lynn County or Johnson County, and they could receive the calls, and we could send our dispatchers there, and then they could dispatch for Blackhawk County. So I think that's a good way to look at shared services and how you control costs for the future and really have a better system out there. So, thank you. Enjoy the day. It's like a great day. So thank you for the opportunity to talk about that.